All right, on today's video, we're going to have a different format as we roll out our latest series, the Executive Search Sit Down. And for this series, we invite fellow peers who are navigating the recruiting and executive search landscape. We find out about their backgrounds and we unpack their tools and strategies for recruiting top talent and how they deliver value for their customers in their specific industries. We also discuss trends and provide advice that they'd like to pass along to fellow recruiters. So on today's episode, we sit down with Kevin McGraw, who provides some sage advice for candidates in the IT industry. And if you're a hiring manager or a leader, Kevin provides an outline of some of the tough questions that you should be asking your next recruiting partner. So we really think you're going to enjoy this video. So let's get into our latest episode with Kevin McGraw. All right, Kev, welcome to the Executive Search Sit Down. Thanks for being our first guest, man.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
And for people out there, for our millions of listeners who don't know who Kevin McGraw is, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So I was raised in Kentucky, Owensboro, Kentucky, and I went to the University of Kentucky, go Cats. And I moved to Nashville in January 2009. And I've been in technology recruiting here in Nashville for almost the entirety of my career, 11 and a half years. I'm married to my wife, Jessica, and we have a little 2.5-year-old son, Nolan.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I worked for the same company for about 6 years until we started Talistry back in April of 2015.
That's awesome. So tell us about your industry. Like, who are some of the types of clients that you work with and candidates that you serve today?
Yeah, so clients, so it's pretty diverse in terms of industries, whether it's financial services, manufacturing, healthcare, software, whatever. But we've worked with companies as small as ones in their Series B of funding, and as big as $46.5 billion financial services firms. In terms of clients, CTOs, CIOs. And then line managers, application development managers, systems engineers, directors, VPs, all in between. And then candidates, software engineers, QA automation engineers, for example, senior project management folks at the program, portfolio, and project level. Really anybody involved in the software development lifecycle or on the infrastructure side, or any niche skill sets, Mirth Connect. Integration engineers, folks like that. That's different things we do too.
Okay, pretty diverse. So I know this is our first episode here on the Executive Search Sit Down, but I have a feeling after we air this, we're going to have hundreds of thousands and millions of listeners.
Oh, yeah.
So
do you have enough servers to account for that type of traffic?
we need some IT help here at the home office. So let's say one of your potential candidates is out there listening to this. What message would you like to deliver to them?
Yeah. So if I could pick maybe one thing, and this would be when things get back to normal. So like pre-COVID, because we will get back to normal soon. But so it would be kind of with that mindset, but it would be to the candidate that says that they're happy right now. And that's the goal. I mean, to be happy in life, with what you're doing. That's really all that matters. But for people that are in that situation, one, I would stay connected with 2 recruiters. Just pick 2 that you've perceived a lot of value and gotten a lot of value from. It's a great way to keep your finger on the market, know what's going on, know what's relevant, know what different companies around your city are doing. And then number 2 is be your own salesperson. And what I mean by that is set a coffee or a lunch, pick a number, biweekly, once a quarter, whatever, with a technology leader from a different company, or for somebody that's a peer, who's another senior network engineer, or an Azure architect, or whatever the case may be. Set those meetings. And the reason is the best career moves I've seen people make came to them when they said that they were happy. And then it's just a way to stay, if you can stay quantitatively connected with consistency and be consistent about it, then, a lot of good things are going to happen.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I mean, I try to do the same thing here, and there's a lot of power in networking, right? You're talking about
Yeah.
structured networking there could have a compound effect. Now, I'm a big fan of that as well. So, on the client side, you mentioned you work with CIOs, CTOs. Again, let's say they're listening to this, they're watching this. What message would you want to deliver to
Yeah.
potential clients that are out there?
Absolutely. And no, good question. And I mean, a lot of time, I mean, most of the time we're actually working with, the line managers who are awesome to work with, the application development managers, the systems managers, et cetera. But if I had kind of a specific things I'd want them to know, I guess I'll kind of break it down to there's probably three things on the negative side and then three things on the positive side to look for in the recruiters that you choose to work with. One thing is if a recruiter diagnoses your need and they bring 4 candidates or more, maybe more than 4 at a most, then I would consider whether I would work with that candidate or not, or excuse me, that recruiter or not. It's our job to be meticulous and be accurate and deliver that true quality. Number 2 is if a recruiter doesn't be intentional about setting up a discovery session with you up front to hammer you with as many questions as they can for an hour or 45 minutes, then I would consider whether I would be working with that recruiter or not. Finding out specifically what matters and what they're looking for in a number of different ways, but also to find out why you as a boss are awesome. What makes your group special? What makes a company special? And if you're saying culture, be specific about that. They should be asking questions about that, because if they have a good session, a discovery session up front, they're gonna find you the best candidates, and that's how you tap the passive market. So, and then lastly, I would say if they use the word quality and they cannot quantify or qualify what they specifically mean by that, then I would question whether I'd work with that recruiter or not. But on the positive side, if a recruiter values and treats the candidate relationship as good as they do the client relationship, that's a recruiter that I think you should consider working with. If they are going through that discovery session, or maybe in a new meeting or whatever meeting it is that takes, the form it takes, if a recruiter asks you questions that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, and of course, like being professional and all that good stuff is built in. But if they ask you questions that make you feel uncomfortable, those are recruiters I think that you should consider working with. And then the last piece of a kind of specific thing that I want our clients to know, or anybody who's watching this video, along the recruiting journey, once they've gone through that discovery session, if you are working with a recruiter that you don't hear from until they send you the candidate or until they make, or whatever, that's a recruiter I would question whether I would work with. If you have a recruiter who's doing what I call give and gets, if they're giving you updates at a good, and they have good timing with it, but on what they're seeing, this is the best candidate we've seen, but this is why you're not seeing them, et cetera, and getting updates from you. Okay, you had an interview last Wednesday, but you didn't move forward with that candidate. What were the top 2 reasons why you didn't move forward? What were the top 2 reasons that that if we brought a candidate to you that you'd actually love juxtaposed to that candidate you didn't move forward with? Doing those give and gets. If you have a recruiter who's doing those, that's a recruiter I think you should consider working with.
No, that's great. I think that's great advice, and I think that that transitions nicely to the last question here that I wanted to close out with. Let's say there is, because this whole series is going to be focused on recruiters and executive search. So let's say there's somebody that's maybe new to recruiting. They just got started and they're struggling, they're having a hard time, or maybe they're considering getting into the recruiting profession. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I'd say number 1, be authentic, be yourself. Don't use server voice. What I mean by that is we've all eaten at restaurants and that server comes up and it's like, "Oh, how's everybody doing? How many drinks can I get you?" And they're super cheesy.
Yeah.
That people recognize that, and people love working with people who are themselves. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I'd say be transparent, and whatever you think transparent is, take a risk to be a notch even above that with your candidates and with your clients. It goes so far. It's never going to hurt you, and it's only going to be appreciated by the people you work with and build trust. Number 3 is I would say fail. Arrive to those be in pursuit of those failures, and as many of them as you can get your hands on as quickly as possible, because you're going to learn from those and it's going to make you better, and lean into that. Don't be fearful of it. And then lastly, I would say, deals are going to fall through. The client that you have is going to lose approval or not end up having the approval that they thought they had. You're going to have a candidate accept another offer, whatever the case may be. When that happens, look at that. Look at the why. Look at the why behind it, and ask yourself questions. Why did that happen? What could I have done differently to prevent that, et cetera? Because none of it matters. Pointing fingers doesn't matter at all. All that matters is getting better and using it to your advantage on the next time as you look at, either current business that you have or new business that comes your way.
Well, hopefully everyone was taking notes on that one, because whether you're a new recruiter or an old recruiter, somebody who's thriving, somebody who's struggling, anybody who's in the sales profession, I think those are great pointers and great advice, and a great way to close out our first show here. So Kev, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate the time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I enjoy it.
All right. So that's it for today's video. We hope you're getting value out of this content. And if you are, be sure to subscribe to our channel and share with a friend or a colleague. And also, if you have ideas for future video topics, please drop those in the comments below. I really would love to hear from you. So until next time, I'm Jim Schaefer, and we'll catch you on the next episode.